you'll never hear it again from a new Dodge. The V8 you loved is dead. But we'll still have fast, loud, tire-smoking Chargers in our future, electric and gas. How is this thing actually gonna stack up against the competition? Let's start with the Hurricane. All right, here's the deal. Dodge will sell 2 versions of the new gas Charger at launch, with 2 versions of a twin-turbo inline-6-cylinder engine called the Hurricane. We'll get a sedan with a standard output engine and a coupe with a more powerful high-output engine. Both come with an 8-speed auto and all-wheel drive, and getting all-wheel drive on the most powerful Chargers is a game changer. The old rear-wheel drive Charger and Challenger didn't have the traction to use all their power. The new high-output Hurricane makes more power and sends it to all 4 tires. We're guessing it'll smoke the old Scat Packs and 392s. And I'm saying that because the Hurricane engine is a beast. It pushed this 6,000-pound brick of a Ram 1500 to 60 miles an hour, only a tenth of a second behind a 6.4-liter V8-powered Charger 392 Daytona. Oof, all this testing, we sure do work up an appetite. You know what would help? A heaping plate of like and subscribe. In all honesty, we greatly appreciate and thank you all for subscribing and liking our videos. If 550 horsepower is too spicy, there's a standard output engine in the sedan. That lines up more with the old 5.7-liter V8. You may miss the V8, but Dodge doesn't want you missing it too much. So what about the competition? If we're gonna talk American muscle coupes, let's talk about the last car standing. The 7th gen Mustang is the only manual V8 muscle car left. We've tried every flavor Ford offers, and they're glorious. The 500 horsepower Mustang Dark Horse we tested wasn't the quickest since it had a stick shift, but it had near record-setting braking performance and grip for days. If you want a track weapon, the new Charger probably won't match the Dark Horse's sports car cred. But what if you only care about straight lines? The quickest V8 Mustang we tested managed 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds. We figured the high output Charger's extra horsepower and all-wheel drive traction should give it the edge in acceleration, at least until Ford gives us a new GT500. The interior of the Dodge looks at least equally upscale as what's available in the Mustang, with a big screen and modern design touches. And the Dodge has way more room in the back seat, along with a liftback trunk. All right, the Dodge is about 1.5 feet longer overall, so parallel parking is not gonna be more better. The Ford has a few other advantages. The 4-cylinder Mustang has muscle car style starting under 35 grand, which is probably a lot less than the 2-door gas Charger will cost. If you want a drop top, you'll have to go with the Mustang convertible. And if you want a manual transmission, that's also Mustang only. And of course, there's the V8. We actually think Dodge's Hurricane sounds pretty decent, but it can't match the glorious sound of a V8. Speaking of V8s and manuals, Chevy may not be making Camaros anymore, but GM still builds a slept-on tuxedo muscle sedan that honestly is a better performer than any Hellcat we've ever driven. We're talking about the CT5V Blackwing. We tested it with a manual transmission. Oh yes, it's a V8 manual sedan. And even with the stick, this thing puts down great numbers. And yes, our vehicle testing team loved the Blackwing too, but at 95 grand to start, it'll likely be way more spendy than the top gas Charger. Swap the V8 for a V6 and you can knock 40 grand off the Caddy's price tag. The cheaper non-Blackwing CT5V lines up nicely with the 4-door Charger and its standard output engine. Pricing for the plain V starts in the mid-50s, so we expect some overlap with the higher trim Charger sedans. You can get all-wheel drive in the Cadillac, but the standard output Charger still has a power advantage. The vanilla V delivers balance handling and a decent powertrain, even if it's not the quickest car. The bigger issue is that it's just not as fun or refined a performance car as the Blackwing, so the Charger has room to compete. The Caddy's interior is plenty modern, but a bit more restrained. While there's lots of rear legroom, rear headroom is tighter than the Charger, and the trunk's even smaller than a Mustang's. If you want a big American limo, go Dodge. Hey, by the way, if you want to know more about these cars or any other cars we test, rate, and review, head on over to Edmunds.com. Thank you. I don't care. That's what the father of Hellcat, Tim Kaniski, said about the efficiency of the Charger EV. Respect. According to Dodge, the Charger is a performance car first and an EV second. The dev team isn't chasing range. Instead, they're doing everything they can to make this Charger worthy of the name. There'll be 2 electric variants of the Charger at launch, the Daytona RT and the Daytona Scat Pack, both with 2 doors, dual electric motors, and all-wheel drive. You can tell the EVs apart from the gas cars because they have a big old hole in the nose to create downforce, just like the Corvette ZR1. The RT will peak at nearly 500 horsepower, and Dodge is expecting it to deliver over 300 miles of range. But Dodge knows the only way they'll win over the EV doubters is with burning rubber. So, the Daytona Scat Pack will deliver as much as 670 horsepower. Plus, it'll have drift and donut mode so you can kick out the tail. Line lock, aka burnout mode, is included too. So things are sounding pretty good, right? Thing is, we've gotten a couple outstanding electric performance cars this year. The electric Charger's most obvious competitor, which is also front of mind because we just bought one, is the new Tesla Model 3 Performance. M3P. Model 3 Performance. That's how you say it in the car world. Here's the thing. In a straight line, the Charger won't be able to hang, even though it has more power than the Tesla. We brought the M3P to our track, and Tesla's $55,000 sports sedan hit 60 in 3 seconds and ran the quarter mile in 11 flat. Even if Dodge is spot on with their Daytona Scat Pack claims, it'll lose to the Tesla, even with 100 extra horsepower. And that's because it's an absolute chonker. I love that word. Our Tesla is heavy for a small car, but light for an EV. The Dodge, it's heavy for a heavy car. I mean, that's almost a ton of extra weight. The Tesla should have about 40 more miles of range, and it's comfortable enough to live with every day. Of course, it's not without flaws. The Model 3's quick, but braking and handling are underwhelming. The performance still doesn't feel like a sports car. And we found the Model 3's supposed drift mode couldn't actually shift all the power to the rear. We'll just have to see how the Dodge handles its weight on track once we get our hands on one. The Charger is almost 2 feet longer than the Model 3 and has more rear legroom and just a hair more trunk space than the Tesla. The design on the inside of the Dodge is about as far from Tesla minimalism as you can get, and it has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So choice. Problem is, the Scat Pack Charger costs around 20 grand more than the Tesla. That's a tough pill to swallow. Last but not least, there's the Hyundai Ioniq 5N, soon to be joined by a sedan sibling, the Ioniq 6N. The 5N makes north of 600 horsepower and undercuts the Scat Pack in terms of price, starting around 67 grand. We spent some time with this thing, and it's a friggin' riot. It may be a practical SUV on the inside, but from behind the wheel, the end reminded us more of an old-school rally-inspired hot hatch. Just way quicker. It's an absolute blast to drive hard.
Honestly, on a circuit, this is probably the most fun EV I've ever driven.
The Charger should have a bit more range, but the performance numbers we got out of the Ioniq 5N are right on top of what Dodge is claiming for the Daytona Scat Pack. I smell a U-drag cooking. Oh, and the Hyundai? It has a drift mode that works. It rules. Hyundai also has a mode that simulates the sound and feel of a gas performance car, complete with a synthetic exhaust note and paddle shiftable gears. It's pretty convincing if that's your thing, especially the crackle and pop of its turbo 4-banger impression. It's like playing a car video game and your controller is an EV. Oh, the Daytona! It's an EV, but it's cool. That's how they're gonna sell it to the people, to the masses, to you. It better be cool, because there's a lot of cool stuff out there. The Daytona makes some fake engine noises of its own, but this beefy baritone mimics the sound and, importantly, the rumble and feel of a muscle car's gas engine. And it's really, really loud. Whether all these fake noises are genius or pointless depends on who you ask. But come on, would it be a proper Charger if it didn't wake up the neighbors? No. So the gas Charger loses its V8. But on paper, it looks promising. We're big fans of the Hurricane in trucks, and we know the engine has the muscle. Now it has to win over the haters, or rather, the lovers of an American V8. The EV might be a tougher sell. It's got power, but it costs more than other EVs that are just as quick. There's also all that weight. We're gonna go ahead and reserve final judgment until we can get the new Charger to our track for proper testing. Until then, we'll just be keeping our fingers crossed for Dodge. A lot's riding on this car. The real question, and what I wanna know, is what should we race against as first in U-Drags? Let us know in the comments. We have some ideas, but we love your input. I can taste that I have bad breath right now and I hate it.